No. That is very true. I mean, everything that Gary just said is very true. I mean, we've always been a community that prides ourselves on the fact that, you know, our community is very much an independent council manager form of government. You know, the board hires the manager. It's the only person we hire. The manager then hires the staff. If the manager hires somebody on the staff that's not right, it's the manager's responsibility. We hold the manager accountable. But the idea that you know, we'll go through various departments and put people to work on the taxpayer's dime just simply doesn't happen. You have a job, it's because you earned that job. You were the best qualified for the position, and that's the way we want to keep it. That's one element, certainly, that we're concerned about in this campaign. But there's a lot of other elements too, and that's, more than anything else, it's simply the fact that you cannot run a community the size of our community, the number of people that we have in our community, and do it without any level of experience or background or knowledge. It simply is an impossibility. You know, when I came to Park Forest back in 1978, the thought that I would have run for mayor in 3 years would have been just outrageous. There was no way that I would have even been so presumptuous to think that in 3 years of living in a town, never having held any kind of political office, never having served on any kind of commission, never having come to a board meeting, that I was qualified to be mayor of the town. That would have just been something that would have been beyond my imagination. But that's kind of the situation that we're facing in this campaign. And so, you know, a great part of the campaign is simply to talk about experience and background. You know, I'll be in Washington. Rick will be there on Wednesday. That we'll be meeting. But when we meet with the staff of Senator Durbin or Senator Durbin, he'll know who I am. He knows who Rick is. You know, when we meet with the staff of Congressman Jackson knows me. You know, I mean, we have lunch periodically. He selected me to be the vice chairman of the Abraham Lincoln National Airport. His staff members recognize when I call what the name is. Those are the kinds of things that 3 years in a town with no experience, you just simply don't do. I think one of the best examples of that is something that happened not too long after I became mayor, when we were facing a very serious problem with the Park Forest water plant. I mean, a problem that reached the point of where the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency was threatening us with about $5 million in fines, which is sizable for a community of our size. So we had to build a new water plant. Now, this water plant initially was supposed to cost us $12 million. It ended up costing about $14 million because of, you always run into things that are a little more expensive than what you anticipate. So we went to the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency and asked them for a low-interest loan, and we were told that we didn't qualify and we couldn't get that loan. As a result of having some personal contact, Senator Maggie Crotty, and Janet was the manager at the time, Janet Muchnick, Janet and I, and the head of Public Works. Now it's Mr. Janet. But we went to see Renee Cipriano, who was then the head of the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency. And I happen to know Renee Cipriano because her husband was a legislator who served with me when I was in the General Assembly. You know, the result of that meeting was we got a low-interest loan that resulted in $5 million savings for the taxpayers of Park Forest. You don't do that if you don't have experience, if you don't know people, if you don't know what doors to open. Those are the kinds of things that are vitally important to our community. We have gotten over $25 million in grants and outside funding over the last 5 years. Okay, now our staff works very hard to do that. That's right. But there's doors that have to be open for the staff, and they know that and they acknowledge that. There has to be that kind of relationship between the elected officials and the professional staff where you work together to get the kinds of money. Because when somebody says taxes are high, yeah, taxes are high. But let me tell you, taxes would be a heck of a lot higher if we didn't have that $25 million in grants. If we didn't have the $5 million that we saved on the water plant, if we didn't have the $5 million that we eliminated in those penalties by negotiating down to a few $100,000 of legal fees. Those are the kinds of things that take leadership. You know, not just somebody who comes into town and says, I'd like to be mayor. You know, I mean, liking to be something. And my opponent is a very nice guy. I mean, at least my relationship with him. I know some of you have had different encounters, but my relationship, he's been very nice. He's very pleasant. He's very, you know, cordial. But I seem to recall that Soupy Sales ran for president of the United States, and he was very cordial, but he wasn't qualified. That's the difference. He wasn't qualified. So, you know, we are running this campaigning basically on the notion that at this juncture in the village of Park Forest, more than anything else, because we have so many things that are right on the cusp of moving forward, more than anything else, we need experienced, qualified leadership. And I think I can provide that. So I thank all of you for being here. I ask for your continued support. If you live in Park Forest, I hope you don't go out the door without a yard sign. If you don't live in Park Forest, I hope you know somebody who does and you coerce them into taking a yard sign. Your friends, your relatives, your neighbors. We do have a fundraiser coming up on the 20th, wine and cheese at Freedom Hall. There's a co-op sponsored candidates forum in the afternoon, and the wine and cheese party is right after that. Very reasonable tickets, because I'm a firm believer in getting as many people to come as possible. So for $20, come and have some wine and cheese and enjoy the campaign atmosphere. And more than anything else, early voting starts on the 14th. Vote, vote, and vote. So, thank you very much. And meanwhile, enjoy the refreshments that Glenna and Rich and all the volunteers have put together for us.
And anybody that's taking sign, please sign on this board here. Put your name, address, and email address.